We're live. Welcome to Protea Live. My name is Zane Stevens. I am the founder of Protea Financial. Back after a week off. Yeah, it was a long weekend here in the US, Memorial Day. So a bit of a shorter week, a little bit of month end. We had some appraisals going on. So just a bit of a busy one. So I took a break, took a breather, and gave myself some thought for the last 4 weeks of this season. So we'll go this week and 3 more weeks. And then I'm going to take a break for July. I've got a bunch of family trips coming up, so I won't really be around. Maybe contemplating doing some stuff on Instagram, share some thoughts, maybe just show you a little bit of where I'm traveling and what I'm doing and how I'm balancing my life between getting work done as well as time with the family. It's going to be fun. 2 different trips, and got family in from another country as well. But let's focus in on this episode of Protea Live. So the next 3 weeks, my goal is to really talk to small business owners. A lot of what we've done so far this season, and what I spend most of my time in, is really talking to accountants and trying to make sure they understand how they can be better to give the best possible information to their clients. But what I want to do now is talk a little bit to small business owners so that they can better understand how they can get the best out of their bookkeeper or accountant. So here's the big sort of like underlying picture, the thing that you need to remember. Bookkeeping is there to help you. Bookkeeping is not a grudge purchase. Now, a lot of people believe it is. It's like a necessary evil to be able to run a business. I need somebody to do my books so I can do my taxes. And that's a horrible way to think about it. It just makes no real sense. Because if you're trying to be successful at a business and trying to figure out what you're going to do going forward, you really need to understand where you came from. And just, let me say it again. To understand where you're going, you have to understand where you came from. Now, that's true with a lot of things in life. If we don't understand the past, how can we forge our way forward? So if you want your business to be successful, you need to have some sort of sense of what happened in the past so that you can plan for the future. And when you're planning, generally what you're doing, you're making a decision on, do I stay the course or do I make some adjustments? And how do you make that decision if you don't understand the performance of your business? And that's where bookkeeping comes in. Bookkeeping is there to provide you with a schedule to say, this is what we've done in the past. These are our sales. This is how much each sale cost us, giving us our gross margin. These are our other expenses that we needed to run this business, giving me a sense of my operating profit. To do this, I needed to take up some debt or a personal loan, or, I had to pay interest on it. And then I come to a final figure of, this is my net income. Taking into account your net income as well as your investing activities. What else did you do with your cash? Did you buy working capital like inventory? Did you buy fixed assets? Maybe you needed some desks for your office or a piece of specialized machinery, as well as where am I using my cash to pay off debt, pay off investors, potentially use terms to finance my working capital, accounts payable. You need to know that information. That information gives you a sense of what you're doing, how you're doing it, and how you're running your business. You need that information, which means you need bookkeeping. Now, a lot of people think they can sort of guess their way. Oh, I know how much revenue did. Oh, I know how much my cost of goods is. Oh, I have money in the bank, so I'm all good. And that's great. I'm glad you know that. But can you put all those pieces together in a workable format so that you understand what your profit is on an accrual basis, your profit is on the cash basis, what your cash burn is going forward, and how you can adjust that to build a budget to go forward? Can you do that? Maybe. Maybe your business is really small. There's not too much going on that's happening. But when you're in a process when things start speeding up, all of a sudden you're hiring employees, you've got new contracts, your business is growing, and it's just stacking on top of each other. How do you have a good sense of what's going on unless somebody's keeping the books for you? especially when things start moving fast, especially when things are being a little bit more successful, you truly need to know what's going on in your business. And this is where a bookkeeper accounting comes into play. But if you want to get this information, you actually need to be able to provide your bookkeeper or your accountant with some really good information so that they can process that information in a workable format with the best information possible. So it is important to be able to understand that there is some stuff that you need to give them. You can't just assume that if they look at a bank statement, they're really going to understand what's going on, right? That's just one process. I mean, so let's start with the easy one. What can you do to make your bookkeeper's life a little bit easier? Give them the bank statements. Even better, give them access to your bank account. Most banks will allow you to give read-only access. That means you have somebody that's doing your books that can go in and look at the transactions. They can get some more details and potentially then give you more information or ask you for more information. Give them access to your bank account. That is a great place to start. At a bare minimum, this is what you should be providing them with. Additionally, there's a very good chance if you're a small business owner, you've got a credit card just running around and you're spending it. Every time you have a credit card transaction, you'll get a little piece of paper that tells you what you spend the money on. Make sure that you're giving those slips to your bookkeeper. They want to see the charges, make sure there's backup, make sure it's a valid business expense, and they want to be able to map it, code it into the right place in the general ledger so that information is useful for you going forward. So make sure that you're keeping receipts for all payments that you made, credit card, bank account, cash, so that they understand where this information will go. It's also very important, from a tax standpoint, if you ever get audited, to have backup for these expenses. So keeping those receipts, and it could be as simple as just taking a picture on your phone, mailing it through to them, and they can store it into some sort of shared space. We love Dropbox. We use it all the time. The other part of it is, hopefully you're in a place as a business where you're not paying for everything in cash, and maybe you've got terms with some vendors. Helpful to give those bills to your bookkeeper so they can process it so that you understand what payments are coming due in the future. Having those details of those bills is really important because it allows you to plan for your cash flow. So send them the bills, and even better, let them make the payments for you. A lot of places allow electronic payment, either credit card, direct ACH payments, or you can use a platform like Bill.com. We love Bill.com. It's a really easy way for me to go in, raise a bill, ask you to be the approver, you approve it, then I ask you to make payment. I go in and hit the pay button. Simple, done. No paper really necessary from our side. It allows the process to go smoothly, gets the authorization, gets the approval, and moves on with life. You can also, if you're not using our preferred platform, QuickBooks Online, for your accounting process, or especially your billing, if you're doing handwritten billing, or maybe you're a contractor, you're running out there and you're doing a lot of invoices on paper, to make sure you give that information to your client, especially if not all your businesses are cash on delivery. If you're giving terms to anybody, it's really important for your bookkeeper to have that information so they know who to follow up with. Again, that information is important because, you don't want to leave money on the table, but also allows them to better plan for cash flow. I expect to get money in from this customer at this stage, which allows us to pay these bills that we just spoke about in the system. So provide them with those invoices if you're not getting them to do it for you. Also really important, and we've seen this, we just had a client now where it's just like, matching of deposits is really crazy. But if you're depositing, I just did a bunch of checks this morning, a ton of them, takes a lot of time. I can provide that information to my accountant so that they can make sure they're allocating to the correct invoices so that we know that they're paid. Because, it's important to follow up on who's paying you, who's getting the money in, but there's nothing worse than just sort of like, hey, following up something like, I already paid you, here's a copy of the check. It just makes people a little bit irritated. So give them those deposit slips so they can better, direct the payments to the right customer, so that there is that needless follow-up, that costs money. So provide them with that information. Additional information that you might want to consider if you have employees, payroll information. you got to pay people, especially if you're hourly people. Give them that information so that they can run payroll successfully, that they can give good reporting, make sure that you're not in trouble, make sure people are paid on time, make sure even if they're 1099 people, check your ABC tests, but making sure that they're paid on time and paid accurately as well. So agreements of what you're going to pay people, timesheets, and let them run that payroll. Let them run it successfully for you. Let it take it away from you. The last thing that is normally really helpful, especially if you're running a cash business, but any business in general, if you have any tax documents, sales tax, excise tax, federal and state taxes, provide your bookkeeper with all the tax documentation that you need. You never know when that information is very important, especially if you're working with an outside tax person. There is most likely a reconciliation that needs to be done at the end of the year. Let's make sure our accounting records match what our tax provider's accounting records are. Because if there's a difference between that, that's when it creates a little bit of chaos, loss of trust. Everybody's on a different page, and things can get really messy really quickly. So get them that tax documents as well. Make your bookkeeper's life as easy as possible. Your bookkeeper or accountant can be a massive advantage to you in running your business. They provide you with the history of your company based on all the steps that you've taken. They can then put it into one big format, something that's readable, that so you can take that information, review it, understand what happened in your business, and then allow you to make decisions. Do we stay the course or do we make changes? Do we pivot? That accounting information that they're going to put together for you is really important. But they can only give you good information if you are supporting them by providing them with the documentation and information so that they can make good decisions. Some of the items that you want to consider giving your bookkeeper at a very bare minimum is bank statements. I recommend giving them read-only access so that they can see the transactions. Next, you do want to be able to give them any of your AP bills. They will help you make the payment and as well as provide you information on when things need to be paid. If you're not sure how they can help you making payment, check out bill.com, our favorite AP platform. Streamlines the process, allows for approval, and get things paid on time. If you're not invoicing out of your accounting software, if your bookkeeper is not doing that, maybe consider it. But if you're doing it yourself, make sure that you're providing your bookkeeper with those invoices, especially if it's not all cash on delivery and there are terms. They can help you keep track of that and figure out when should you follow up with these people to make sure that you get paid. It'll help for completeness and it'll help with your cash flow. Next, if you're doing anything on cash basis, you're depositing your own checks, give them deposit slips, give them breakdown of information that you received. It'll allow for better allocation of your income and will lead to less follow-up time, wasted time. Where did all this come from? Give them payroll information. Let them understand who you're paying and when. Even better, let them help you run payroll. Provide them with the contracts and provide them with the hours. They can do that and take that, stress off of your plate. So give them that information. And finally, number 6, provide them with any tax documentation you have. If you have a tax provider, make sure that they're in contact. Your tax provider can ask them questions to get the best, information to prepare your tax returns, and then they can talk afterwards to make sure the books are reconciled and there's no differences. A bookkeeper can be a massive asset to your business. It is not a grudge purchase. A good bookkeeper will allow you to run your business more successfully, but you do need to provide them with some information to make their life easier so they can make your life easier. I love being an accountant. I love helping people. I especially love people who help themselves. So help yourself and give your bookkeeper or accountant all the information they need to do their job well. They will then return that in being consistent, accurate, and providing you that historical data to make good business decisions. If you're in the wine space and that your current bookkeeper is not doing that for you, hi, I can help you. Reach out to me. I want small businesses to be successful. I am a small business owner myself. I try and make myself successful. I make sure that I give my controller all the information she needs to be able to do her job successfully. You should do the same. Gone a little bit longer today, but I think it's a really important topic. We must never forget the importance of accounting to help us run our business. And now I'll make their life easier by giving them the bare minimum information. If you don't take anything from this at all, the one thing you should walk away by saying is at least give my bookkeeper a freaking bank statement. Have a wonderful day further. I look forward to talking to you all next week. Bye.